Good evening. Welcome to South Asia Newsline. I'm Yeshi Chonzom. Here are the top stories we are tracking for you on Tuesday, the 16th of November. Indian Prime Minister Modi launches 341-kilometer long Purvanchal Expressway, calls it pride of Uttar Pradesh state. Pakistan government calls Parliament's joint session, claims support of allies on electoral reforms. And 13-year-old Indian girl scales Mount Kilimanjaro, aims to climb all 7 summits before 2024. And now for all the details. Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi on Tuesday afternoon launched the 340-kilometer Purvanchal Expressway that also has an airstrip in northern Uttar Pradesh state. Shortly after, he landed in an Air Force C-130J Super Hercules aircraft on the highway. The expressway is aimed at giving a boost to the economic development of the eastern part of the state. PM Modi said this is the expressway to the state's development and will show the way to a new Uttar Pradesh.
Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi on Tuesday inaugurated the 341-kilometer 6-lane Purvanchal Expressway in Sultanpur district of northern Uttar Pradesh state after landing on the highway airstrip in an Indian Air Force C-130J Hercules plane. The Purvanchal Express, which is one of the biggest completed infrastructure projects by the Uttar Pradesh government, has been built as the carrier of development to the underdeveloped Purvanchal region. The expressway will traverse through 9 districts of Uttar Pradesh and will also connect important cities like Varanasi, Ayodhya, Gorakhpur and Allahabad through link roads. The airstrip on the expressway will enable landing and takeoff of IAF fighter planes in case of emergency. Prime Minister Narendra Modi at the inauguration event said the Purvanchal Expressway is the symbol of Uttar Pradesh development and will strengthen its economy.
ये एक्सप्रेसवे यूपी में आधुनिक होती सुविधाओं का प्रतिबिंब है। ये एक्सप्रेसवे यूपी की दृढ़ इच्छा शक्ति का पुनीत प्रगटीकरण है। ये एक्सप्रेसवे यूपी में संकल्पों की सिद्धि का जीता जागता प्रमाण है।
PM Modi also launched a blistering attack on opposition parties and said the previous governments in Uttar Pradesh, led by them, reduced the state's vital eastern part to Mafiawad and poverty. But the BJP government is now writing a new chapter of development. As assembly elections draw closer in the state, there has been a tug-of-war over the project. Former Chief Minister and Samajwadi Party President Akhilesh Yadav accused Bharatiya Janata Party of trying to claim credit for his government's work. The inauguration event also saw Mirage 2000 and Su-30 MKI aircraft make multiple takeoffs and landings at the emergency airstrip. Indian Air Force presented a thrilling air show along the landing strip on Purvanchal Expressway.
The Indian government on Tuesday announced it has decided to reopen cross-border Kartarpur Sahib pilgrim corridor from November 17, which was closed in March 2020 owing to COVID-19 pandemic. A border crossing pact between India and Pakistan allows visa-free access to Indian pilgrims to visit Gurdwara Kartarpur Sahib in Pakistan. This comes ahead of the birth anniversary of Sikhism's founder Guru Nanak Dev on Friday. India's Interior Minister Amit Shah on Tuesday announced on Twitter that Prime Minister Narendra Modi-led government has decided to reopen the Kartarpur Sahib corridor from November 17, which has been closed since March 2020 owing to the COVID-19 pandemic. The nearly 3-mile-long Kartarpur corridor, made in 2019 by the joint efforts of India and Pakistan, links religiously historical town of Dera Baba Nanak in India's Punjab state to Gurdwara Kartarpur Sahib, the final resting place of Sikhism's founder Guru Nanak Dev in Pakistan. Several leaders, including members of influential DSGMC, Delhi's Sikh Gurdwara Management Committee, welcomed the move by the Indian government.
बहुत ही मुबारक मौका है कि कॉरीडोर दोबारे खुल रहा, सिखा कौम की जोड़ी अरदास है वो पूरी हो रही है। मैं बतौर मुख्यमंत्री प्रधानमंत्री जी ते होम मिनिस्टर उन्होंने मिलन गया सी, खास तौर पे ये बेनती की सी कि उन्होंने कॉरीडोर खोलने का ऐलान किया। मैं उन्होंने बड़ा धन्यवाद करदा।
ये हम सब के लिए बहुत बड़ी खबर भी और बड़ी खुशी की बात भी है, क्योंकि लगभग 2.25 साल बाद ये संभव होने जा रहा है, जहां अब संगत बिना वीज़े के गुरु नानक देव पातशाह जी के उस महान स्थान करतारपुर साहब के दर्शन कर पाएगी।
A border crossing pact between India and Pakistan allows visa-free access to Indian pilgrims to visit the holy site. The major development comes ahead of birth anniversary of Guru Nanak Dev on November 19. In news from Pakistan, Pakistan's Information Minister Fawad Chaudhry has informed that the ruling PTI government will convene a joint sitting of Parliament on Wednesday to get electoral reform bills passed after gaining support of its allies. This comes as the joint opposition announced on Monday it will counter the government on the controversial legislation and on the issue of soaring inflation in the country.
Pakistan's ruling PTI government has finally decided to convene a joint sitting of Parliament on Wednesday to get controversial electoral reform bills passed after gaining support of its allies. Information Minister Fawad Chaudhry said Prime Minister Imran Khan convened a meeting of the government allies including Muttahida Qawmi Movement and Pakistan Muslim League Q on Monday and claimed all reservations including those related to EVMs and giving voting rights to overseas Pakistanis had been addressed. However, reports suggested the allies were still uncertain.
ये मुश्तरका फैसला हुआ है आज के इजलास में कि पार्लियामेंट का जो मुश्तरका इजलास है वो बुध के दिन 2 बजे दोपहर जो है वो तलब किया जाएगा और इंशाअल्लाह ताला ये जो सारा इलेक्टोरल रिफॉर्म्स के बिल हैं ये वहाँ पे जाएंगे और तमाम इत्तेहादी इनके पीछे खड़े।
This comes as multi-party opposition alliance Pakistan Democratic Movement on Monday held a virtual meeting and decided to challenge the controversial electoral bills in the Supreme Court and ramp up its ongoing countrywide protests over soaring inflation. Amid an economic crisis, the Pakistani rupees last week slid to 174 against the US dollar, losing 1.12 rupees. Prices of all daily needs have soared to all-time high, drawing condemnation and large-scale protests against the government.
Moving on, scores of local contractors in the illegally occupied region of Pakistan-administered Kashmir held a protest over non-payment of dues and government's apathy towards them. They claim despite their rigorous efforts in building various projects in far-flung areas, the government is not paying them their dues, which has made their lives miserable.
Local contractors in Pakistan-administered Kashmir held a protest recently over the non-payment of their dues and claimed their voices were not being heard by the government in the illegally occupied region. The protesters said they completed several projects with hard-earned money after the 2005 deadly earthquake and blamed they have still not been paid the dues by the government-appointed Pakistani firms. They also demanded the regularization as Class A category contractors by the government.
जब फंड की बात आई, जब बिलात की बात आई, हमारा लोकल कंट्रैक्टर पाकिस्तान की उन बड़ी फर्मों के मरूने मेहनत हो गया। आज तक हमारा लोकल कंट्रैक्टर उन पैसों के लिए सफर कर रहा है।
16 साल से लेके आज तक 16 साल हो गए, पैसे नहीं मिल रहे। कंट्रैक्टर अपने जेब से पैसे लगा के दूर दराज इलाकों में काम कर रहे हैं और यहाँ पे गवर्नमेंट अपने महलों में बैठी हुई आराम और सुकून एंजॉय कर रही है।
The protesters accused Islamabad of meting out a stepmotherly treatment to the illegally occupied region and warned they would shut down all ongoing projects if their voices are not heard.
Afghanistan is one of the most vulnerable countries in the world to climate change, and experts say drought, flood and extreme weather are set to worsen. As winter approaches, Afghans living on mountain sides in capital Kabul say they are worried about the usual flood waters that goes into their houses during winter months.
Afghans living on mountainsides in capital Kabul said they are worried about the usual flood waters that goes into their houses during winter months. In the last 2 decades, hundreds of houses have been illegally built on top of mountains and mountain slopes in Kabul, which most of the residents of these houses are facing serious problems such as flood waters and lack of clean water and proper roads.
مشکلات ما زیاد است دیگه هوا بارش جنجال زیاد است وقتی که بارش میباره خانه ما زیر آب میشه دیگه سودا چیزی که میاریم یا چوب یا آرد دیگه برای ما بسیار مشکل است بالا کردنش دیگه یا خودمون بالا میکنیم یا جواری را میتیم اور در شرایط کی پیسه داره که جواری 100 روپیه دیگه بالا کنه
زمستان مشکل راست یعنی روبروی خانه‌های ما را شاروالی کند و عیار کرد و بازسازی کرد مگم با اون شکل خامه علاج کرد رفت اینال زمستان که شد این منطقه سیلاب داره سیلاب که تا شد دیوال هم بلند گرفته دمی پیاده رو که اونجا میبینین هم استاد میشه برای تمام باشندهای محل مزاحمت خلق میشه.
Afghanistan ranks among the countries most at risk of and least prepared for climate-linked threats according to an index compiled by the Notre Dame Global Adaptation Initiative. UN agencies say droughts are likely to become the norm in Afghanistan by 2030. Agriculture in South Asia has depended on the annual monsoon for centuries, but intense rains and floods in the region also cause devastation and billions of dollars in damage every year.
Moving on to news from Bangladesh. Hindu devotees in Bangladesh celebrated Rakher Upobash, a religious fasting festival, by lighting oil lamps, candles and burning incense. The festival is held on every Saturday and Tuesday during the last 15 days of Bangla month of Kartik. Every Hindu devotees gather in front of Sri Sri Loknath Brahmachari Ashram temple for the religious festival. Loknath Brahmachari, who is called Baba Loknath, was an 18th century Hindu saint and philosopher in Bengal. Hindu worshippers fast and pray in earnest to the gods for blessings and good health during the traditional ritual called Kartik Brati or Rakher Upobash. A 13-year-old girl from southern India recently scaled Mount Kilimanjaro, the highest mountain in Africa and the highest single freestanding mountain in the world. The young mountaineer says she is now aiming to climb the rest of all the 7 summits in the world before 2024.
A 13-year-old girl from India's southern Hyderabad city recently scaled the Mount Kilimanjaro, the highest mountain in Africa, known for its snow-capped peaks, and now aims to climb all 7 summits before 2024. Muruki Pulakita Hasvi expressed her happiness and said scaling the mountain, which is a dormant volcano at 5,895 meters, was an adventurous experience. She said Mount Kilimanjaro is such a mountain where you experience all the weather conditions, and she did yoga and meditation to keep herself mentally strong.
Summer, and then it slowly goes to the deserted area, and then it slowly goes rainy, and then it goes snowy. So that's like all you experience all the weathers. There were actually seven people are in our group, including the coach. So in that 3 people had given up. They were going down. So I had to make a quick decision to go down or to go up. I was given an option to go down or go up, but then I changed that option into a decision, and decisions matter for life.
The way she was telling about the experience and all that, we were horrified. The video she shared, it was all windy, dusty, fog, lots of climatic changes she could see.
While she doesn't advise all her younger friends to choose mountaineering, Hasvi says conquering mountain in life, that is facing life's challenges head-on, is the key to success.
Well, that's all we have for you from South Asia this evening. Now our viewers can watch the show on SouthAsiaNewsline.com. You can also visit us on Facebook.com/AsAsiaNewsline and follow us on Twitter @AsAsiaNewsline. That's all in tonight's edition. We will see you same time tomorrow. Good night.